Hey, what's up, lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss the 2014 feature film Night at the Museum: Secret of the Tomb. So, this is the third installment in the franchise. The fourth film is a cartoon on Disney Plus. We're going to watch that as well, and that's why I wanted to rewatch everything because I needed to remember certain things. So, Skylar Giocondo is the character of Nikki in this sequel. I don't know why they got rid of the kid who was in the first and second film who played Nikki Daly. But now Nikki Daly is played by Skylar Giocondo, and who's an incredible actor, and I love him. But it was different. It threw me again. I knew Skylar was in it, but I was like, wait, but that's not the original Nikki. But it's fine. So he is now in high school. He's getting a little rambunctious, going from different parent house to parent house, and he's throwing parties and talking about potentially not going to a college and things, right? So Larry is doing night security guarding again, but he's now in charge of the Museum After Dark program, which has all of the animatronics coming to life and interacting and learning. And now there's like celestial, constellations coming about because there's the planetarium is being refurbished at the Manhattan's Museum of Natural History. So the tablet of Akman Ra is corroding, and no one understands why. And Akman Ra is showing Larry, and he's like, look, like something's happening and it's losing its magic. We're all like twitching and forgetting, and everything goes haywire at this presentation. And so the director is being forced to resign because it was his brainchild to do the project and all these things, right? Now, Akman Ra says, listen, like my parents would know, like my dad would knows what the tablet is, aside from, whoever found it, because it's his. He made it. He knows the magic behind it. So it's now a matter of convincing a conservation project kind of trip. The tablet and Akman Ra go to the British Museum to have the tablet come to life again as it's still dying, to talk to Akman Ra's parents to figure out what the hell to do with the tablet. But it turns out, and we get a backstory. We start out in 1938 at this film about the discovery of the tomb, that it was a joint effort between the New York Museum and the British Museum and the Cairo Museum, that all the different governments and again, this was during the 30s, so very different now. Anything found in Egypt stays in Egypt now. Back then, everybody who found stuff took stuff. It's very different. Archaeology is very different now than it was then, thankfully, because it shouldn't be taken away. It should be preserved where it is, and you go to where it is to learn where the stuff. It shouldn't be taken from its spot. Anyway, I can go on a rant for ages. There was a whole rant about that in Black Panther, actually, Killmonger's character. Perfect. So, going back to my story. My recap. Cecil, who we find out to be one of the head night guards in the very first film, it was his father's expedition, and he was there as a 12-year-old boy, and he's the one who actually fell through the cavern and discovered this originally. And one of the locals were saying, everything will end, and he just assumed it was just a native, local curse that the world's going to end if you take this stuff. But no, it was really the magic's going to end if you take this stuff. So Akman Ra, the tablet, Larry, and Nick sneak into the British Museum. Hysterical, mind you, because Rebel Wilson plays a night guard. But then the main characters of the Museum of Natural History stow away with them. So you have Robin Williams' character. This was his last film of Teddy Roosevelt. You have Sacagawea. You have Genghis Khan, who I'm still not happy that he's still featured, but whatever. You have Octavius. You have Jedediah. You have a new caveman. They just call him La because he looks very similar to Larry. So it's very entertaining. Who else is with them? Somebody else is with them. Oh, Dexter, the monkey. So the main ones are there, right? They're all trying to now help Akman Ra find Egypt. But then Jed and Octavius get sucked into an air vent, so it's a whole side quest of trying to help them. But then as the side quests are happening and as all the things are coming to life in the British Museum, Sir Lancelot is now trying to either figure out if the tablet is his holy grail that he's supposed to help with, fight the giant snakes in the Asian exhibit with the Tibetan I forget the characters' names, but it's very interesting having another museum's layout, another museum's historical artifacts come to life, interact, whether it's modern, whether it's ancient, having them all interact, again, very interesting. So going then to Egypt, having Ben Kingsley play not Sam Remy, Rami Malek's character of Akhman Ra's father. Again, going back to what I was saying a couple reviews ago, it's important to note that we started to then get more vocal if that actors who are not the ethnicity they're playing should not be playing that ethnicity. And that's a good example because Ben Kingsley, I'm pretty sure, is not Egyptian, so he should not be playing an Egyptian character. But this was 2014, and things have been changed very differently in the last 18 years, thankfully. So he still did a great job with the character he's given. It's just, it's weird watching it now as opposed to then, even though Ben Kingsley is a great actor. So figuring out and having the explanations of what actually is happening. So then the moon god Khonsu, who we all know and love from the TV series Moon Knight, as in we all were introduced, I mean, I knew of Khonsu from reading mythology books from years ago, but the main general pop, the Gen pop, did not really know who the Egyptian god was of the moon, Khonsu. So we get Khonsu's story of how Khonsu bestowed upon his moon magic to help create the tablet, and that was the gift for his son, Akhman Ra. And that the tablet has been missing moonlight all these years, so it needs moonlight so that the corrosion stops. So then it's a matter of Lancelot taking the tablet, it's a matter of everybody escaping the museum, trying to figure out what to do, how to get the tablet back, how to re-energize it with Khonsu's moon magic, all these different things. So it was very well done. Very well done. It had a beautiful ending. The characters realized that the tablet and Akhman Ra should stay at the British Museum with his family. Now it's supposed to be together. They shouldn't have separated everybody to begin with. Why was Akhman Ra in the Smithsonian? Why was Akhman Ra in New York? Why are their parents in Britain? It was, the characters agreed that's where they should stay, and then they're fine with not coming to life anymore. And Larry has to move on. Larry has to realize this. He has to realize that his son's growing up. He has to realize that he can't hold on to the past. He has to learn from the past because he's in the present, and that shows us what the future can be. All those things that we've talked about, it was very poignant to this. So it was a really cool letting go moment. And the goodbye with Teddy and Larry was very hard to watch because Robin Williams passed away prior to the release of this film. This movie was dedicated to Mickey Rooney and Robin Williams, who both passed prior to the release of this film. So to have him saying his goodbyes and tomorrow's a new day and you're on to your next adventure, and Larry saying, well, I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, and then Teddy saying, how exciting. That is a massive, massive audio reel on Twitter, not on Twitter, on Reels and via Instagram and TikTok right now. Massive. Everybody's making a video about it. And it's emotional to hear it and then see it again, knowing how Robin passed and knowing how he didn't get to do other projects. Very, very hard to not acknowledge, but discuss it. It's a conversation a lot of people don't want to have, that the darkness isn't always dark. Sometimes it's light, and it's hard to hear that, see that, and process it as a goodbye without crying watching the third Night at the Museum film. It's a moment I didn't expect, but it was important. So then 3 years go by. Within the plot points, the tablet and the British Museum exhibits are in New York on loan and for their own conservation project, and so the museum is back to life for the first time in 3 years. So I think the fourth film picks up there, because if it's been 3 years, Nikki should be older, like a senior in high school or something like that, potentially. So I'm curious plot-wise, but we'll see. We'll see what happens next. This is a very wonderful franchise. It is very wonderful in regards to history, acknowledging history, learning from the past to bring us to the present, which brings us to the future. I will never stop saying that. This is a great film within anthropology and archaeology. Anthropology is more how do people live, how did people live, how do people interact, versus archaeology, which is more the treasure finding and stuff, right? That's the best explanation I can give to you. I simplified the hell out of it, but that's the best way I can explain it. Yeah. On to the next review. Mucho mahalo.